All right, we're good, Adam.
We live in 4K.
We are recording in 1080p.
Okay, that's approximately what I said.
Oh, it's already going to shit.
All right, well, why don't you? What do you mean it's already going to shit?
Adam, why don't you tell me what you just experienced?
Well, we just finished the first season of KO. And as I was telling you earlier, aside from we just finished the first season, possibly the only one of Jahi, this is my first time watching an anime since I was probably 12 years old. And so, it's definitely a lot different than Jahi. There's a lot more dynamics going on. I was telling you it was a lot slower to start. Jahi was more of a straight dive into it, and the beginning of KO was kind of a slow burn. There was a lot of characters to establish and a lot of backstory to establish real quick, and the relationships between all the characters had to get set up and stuff like that. But I really like the dynamics between the characters, and I'd say after like episode 3, I was pretty well hooked.
All right, thank you guys for joining us for the latest episode of what do we call this? WeebMind?
Yes.
Yeah.
Or WeebHiveMind?
WeebHiveMind? Yeah. Let's check. It's been a while since that first episode.
Oh boy.
Welcome to our bi-yearly
WeebHiveMind.
God. Adam, how'd you get into the series?
Oh, when you say how'd I get into it, are you asking like what hooked me?
No, I'm saying how did you come into contact with this series?
Well, like I said, I hadn't watched an anime in a really long time. And you and some other friends were excited about Jahi coming out. And I was just hanging out, in the Cord. We were playing some games. We were like, oh, we're gonna watch Jahi. And jokingly, you said, Adam, why don't you join us? And I said, sure, I got nothing better going on. And you were pretty surprised by that. And I watched it and I was like, man, this is pretty good. Well, long story short is we finished that, the season ended. And I'm like, damn, that kind of sucks, watching shows with the boys and stuff. I was having a good time. And he said, well, I know a different slice of life anime we could watch. I said, all right, lay it on me. And you kind of told me a little bit about it. I'm like, sure, I'll try it. And then all these memes started popping up about KO being extreme right-wing propaganda. And so I said, well, that sounds like just the kind of thing I'm looking for. And so we watched it.
What you're leaving out is the fact that I strong-armed you into watching the entire season in just 3 days.
Yeah, that's true. You did, in fact, strong-arm me. Well, okay, there was a few times the first day we were watching that you were like, Adam, you want to take a break? Or you want to play some games? You want to go to bed? And I was like, just keep them coming, baby.
We got about...
But today you definitely strong-armed me into finishing it.
Yeah, because I wanted to do this video.
Well, here we are.
Here we are. Yeah, we did, 4 episodes a day?
Oh, yeah, we did watch it. Yeah, 4 episodes a day.
It's not too bad.
Not too bad. That's what, like an hour and a half?
A little over an hour, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So, I'm gonna go off on a little bit of a rant here.
Oh, boy.
Before we start. So usually I have no problem with, sailing the 7 seas and finding a rip of a show. I didn't want to do that this time because I'm lazy. And the only place I could find K-On! Was fucking Hulu. So I had to start a free account on Hulu just to watch this show with you.
Is that why you were pushing me to finish it?
Maybe. Maybe.
But we still have the 2nd season.
I'm okay with paying for a month. I'm not gonna make you watch 27 episodes in 1 day for season 2. Or in 3 days for season 2.
Adam, wake up! It's about to end! The free trial's about to end! We still have 7 more episodes!
Yeah, we're not doing that for season 2. Alright, well... Should we move on to the general story?
Okay, let's get into the general story. How about you give a little synopsis?
Autistic girls start band.
Well,
Cake time ensues.
yeah, I guess that is the
I don't-
that is the simplest form.
Listen. Listen, this is a 10-plus-year-old show. I don't want to get into spoilers right off the bat, you know.
Well, you see, you said autistic girls. What I do like about the characters is, first of all, they are all autistic, which is pretty funny. But they're all autistic in different ways.
I believe I described it as different flavors.
Yes, they have different flavors of autism.
Mm-hmm.
Yui is probably the most retarded. She's just kind of clueless about everything.
She's just a ditz.
But yeah, and they sort of kind of talk about it more near the end of the first season that she's dumb, but when she gets focused on something, she has the ability to be kind of a savant at it. And that's how, in the first episode, she doesn't know how to play any instruments except some, I don't even remember what they called that thing. It's like something a kid plays with. It's the Japanese equivalent of American kids playing the recorder.
Or I'd say it's the triangle, honestly.
Yeah, and so she'd never picked up a guitar before, and then she does, and when she actually starts trying, she learns it super, super fast. And so she's kind of like a retard savant. But other than that, she's incredibly dumb. She can barely sing and play guitar at the same time because she just can't remember.
Well, she has to go through a training arc with arguably one of the most controversial figures in the series.
We'll get into that.
We'll get into her. We'll get into her later. Yeah.
But problematic.
Problematic is that's what you described her as.
And then we move on to Richo and
Richo?
Yes.
Richo.
And her flavor of autism is this kind of overconfidence leadership role, but she really has no idea what the fuck she's talking about. She has that level of overconfidence that overpowers the fact that she really does not know what the fuck she's talking about. She's the textbook example of lie on your resume but got the job anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And so she's arguably just as dumb as Yui.
I was gonna say it's the same level of autism as Yui, but she's got at least 2 more brain cells.
Right. And so then you got Mugi, and she's just kind of your standard sort of unaware.
And childlike innocence.
Yeah, she's super innocent. She's incredibly rich, and that doesn't seem to. She doesn't realize how that's weird. She's incredibly endearing. She just is really happy and cares about everyone. Doesn't want anyone to be upset or anything like that. And then there's always these kind of different things that come up that make people realize her level of wealth. But and then we got Mugi, or God damn it, I just said Mugi. Mio,
yeah,
who is best girl.
Okay. We'll get into that later.
We'll get into that later.
Yeah.
Okay, Mio. She's sort of the matriarch of the group. Okay. She's the most responsible, but she's shy. She's some might say it's a problem how shy she is. She gets easily embarrassed. She gets easily scared. Just seeing the cover of a horror movie makes her have a fucking panic attack. Everyone just sits around and does nothing, and she tries to keep them on track. And there's this episode where Yui fails her tests, and if she fails the makeup, then she can't be a part of the club anymore. And so Mio sits her down and helps her study. And so she's kind of the more adult matriarch of the group.
She's the more, whereas Mugi is the very doting mother. Mio is more of the strict get your shit together mother.
Yes, and so now we got Azusa, and she's pretty new. She just came in the past few episodes.
Azunyan, if you will.
Yes.
Yes.
And so we haven't got too much of her backstory yet. But we do have a pretty general idea of her personality. At first, she was very apprehensive about the light music club because apparently she has a background where her parents play for some kind of a jazz band. So she's been playing guitar for a really long time. And so she was there at the club for a day or two and she was like, yo, these retards don't take anything serious. They just sit around and sip tea and stuff their faces full of cake. I'm getting the fuck out of here. And then she was thinking back to when she saw the light music club play her first day of school, and she was like, man, they really moved me, and I just don't know why. But so, you know, she ends up sticking around, and she's kind of like the baby of the group because she's a freshman and everybody else isn't, and so she's the youngest, and so everybody kind of treats her like a baby, but she's very, very talented.
She's capable.
Yeah, she's capable. But she's kind of like a mini Mio. She's very frustrated sometimes that they won't get their shit together, and she's very much like a baby Mio, except she doesn't get as scared and embarrassed as easy.
Let's before we go into the waifu wars, let's touch on a bit of the secondary characters, if you will.
Okay, who would you like to touch on?
Let's talk about Ui.
Ui is Yui's little sister, younger sister, and she's almost the opposite of Yui in every single way. Yui is completely retarded. She can't take care of herself. She's pretty much Yui's caretaker. So there's this weird thing that they kind of touch on for half a second every few episodes of how Yui and Ui's parents are kind of absent.
Mm-hmm.
They're like always on trips and stuff like that, and you never see them. Even though they show them at their house all the time, you never see the parents and they never talk to them. They rarely talk about them. They just talk about how they're very absent all the time. And so Ui has this weird responsibility of having to be like the super, super responsible one. She essentially parents Yui. Like, Yui just fucking, when she's not at school, she just lays around all day rolling on the ground, begging for food, and Ui goes and makes her food and cleans up the house, and anything that requires a legitimate level of responsibility, Ui has to do. Like, there's this episode, Ui is a year younger, and so in the second half of the second season, she starts going to high school. And the first time she walks into the school, all the people in the Light Music Club are happy to see her. Oh, Ui, it's you, we love you. And then Ui starts doing this thing where she's like, wow, Yui, your hair looks bad, and you got this tag on your uniform. Let me brush your hair, let me take the tag off. She's like a mother role for Yui. She's almost the opposite of Yui in every single way.
Any other thoughts on Ui?
No, I don't think so. You have anything you wanted to add?
No. I think she's a very nice character, and there's a bit that pops up a couple times in the anime, which you saw the first thing of, where she takes over for her sister.
Oh yeah, and that's another kind of interesting dynamic, is you hear me explain that, and you think, oh my god, Ui must fucking hate her sister. She sounds fucking useless, which she is kind of fucking useless. But
she adores her sister.
There's this one part where Azusa and Ui are sitting there having lunch, and this is just after Azusa joined the Light Music Club, and she's sort of apprehensive about it. She's like, I don't know how serious these people are, and so she's kind of like trying to draw things out of Ui, and she's sort of like, man, your sister's like kind of lazy, and she doesn't work very hard. Isn't that frustrating? Isn't that crazy? And she's just like, oh, that's Yui, I just love her to death. Isn't she adorable? And so there's this weird thing where you would think she would be incredibly frustrated by it, but she's just happy to take care of her. She just loves her to death.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say it's more of like a grandmother doting than a mother.
Yeah, I think
it's that unconditional love.
Yeah, no matter how much of a, kind of dumb or whatever they are, you just love them to death. Yeah, I think that's a better way of putting it.
Alright, and there's two more characters I want to hit on. Nodoka Manabe, the what was it? Student council.
So Nodoka is Yui's best friend when they get into high school. Yui didn't know any of the girls at the Light Music Club when she started high school. and she's been Yui's best friend since like they were born. And she also kind of takes the same role as Ui in the fact that when they're at school, they're always together, and so she's always kind of watching out for Yui because Yui is retarded. And Nodoka is pretty much a very similar character to Ui in the fact that she's almost the opposite in every way. She's incredibly responsible, obviously very intelligent and things like that, and she just sort of watches over Yui all the time, make sure she's not getting into trouble, making sure she's doing all the things she's supposed to. And then she also has this interesting dynamic where she takes care of the whole club because they're all kind of irresponsible. They never put in their applications for things that they need. And
that's more of a Ritsu thing, though.
Right, and so they miss all these deadlines and stuff like that, and Nodoka always comes in and says, listen, I'm on the student council, I'll vouch for y'all, I'll push some deadlines and stuff like that, but you gotta get this done. And so she does him she kind of watches out for him and things like that. And so she's a very similar character to Ui in that sense, but a little bit more of like a upperclassman, she's the same age as them dynamic.
And finally, Sawako.
Okay, so we're moving into that.
Well, just give a general backstory to Sawako at first. I'll fill in the gaps, and then we'll get into the first real subject here.
So the show opens up, and Sawaka-sensei is like the music teacher for the school. She's like the band teacher, I guess.
Right, yeah.
And so she's very beautiful, and everyone thinks she's beautiful, and she's just like the nicest person in the world. Everybody's in love with her. People just love her to death. The students love her, and the teachers love her. She's always like, they show these scenes of her like giving tea to the teachers, and the teachers love her, and she's laughing with them, and the students adore her. She's just like given this image of the nicest lady on the planet, right?
Mm-hmm.
As nice a person as you'd ever meet in your life.
Right.
And the show progresses, and it takes this weird turn. There's this episode where Mio finds an old school yearbook or something.
It was like a box from the Keon Club.
Right, and it's from like way back in the day.
Yeah.
Well, Sawaka-sensei used to be a student at the same school as well. And Mio finds this picture of Sawaka-sensei when she was in the light music club. And she's like wearing all this crazy makeup. Essentially, when she was in the music club, she was like a metal band.
Right.
And so
she has a Joker origin story.
Right. And so Sawaka-sensei finds out about this, and there's like this insane scene where she's like, "Oh, haha, that's crazy. That still exists."
Where is it?
And then she does like the insane sprint. Yeah.
Where the fuck is it?
And then she does this insane sprint through the halls, jumping over like a library cart and swirling through these fucking hula hoops and stuff like this. This insane dead-ass sprint with her face all dark to the music room. And the album is in there, and she's like, I'll fucking destroy this shit forever. She throws that shit open, and the picture is gone. And then she turns around, and all the girls are standing there, and they're holding up the picture, and this is like,
you like Krabby Patties, don't you, Squidward?
and they're like, we know this is you, bitch. And then they turn on this like old cassette player, and it's a recording of her playing like years ago at a school festival, and it's just like some hardcore deathcore music. And so she goes into this whole Joker origin story of how like this dude rejected her because she was too like straight and narrow and stuff like that.
He's
like
girls who had a wild streak.
Yeah, he liked a bitch with a little more edge to her.
Yeah.
And so it goes through like this kind of montage of her getting more and more and more dark until she's just in fucking Slipknot. And so then she goes back to the dude and she's like, I'll date you, I guess, bitch. And he's like, you took it too far. And so then I guess from that day she like vowed to be like a pristine, pritzy, nicest lady in the world kind of chick forever. And to just always have that image. And so she's always striving for that image of just being like the nicest, decent lady ever. the kind of lady you take home to your 90-year-old grandma and stuff like that. And they find out that that's not really her, and then as soon as that episode airs, she takes a turn.
Okay, before we hit that up, I just want to say the whole thing that brought us to that moment is they didn't have anyone to sign off on their club activities. They needed like a representative, and as soon as Ritsu like corners her with that, she fucking blackmails her.
Right, and so then she starts taking this weird turn. There's some kind of like questionable things, you know. So now she's invested. She's invested in the club. She gets back into it, and she just loves it.
She's a little too invested.
Right, she gets a little too invested in the club, but she's back in it.
She's back in it.
Well,
oh boy.
So she's hanging out there every day. She's having fucking tea and crumpets with the girls. And she starts making them like all these costumes. This is like a fucking trope in the show. Is she's just constantly making costumes for them. And the girls are always like, nah, that's embarrassing. I don't want to wear those. And so she fucking forces them into it. There's this one scene where, you know, we talked about how Mio gets easily embarrassed and doesn't like doing stuff like that. And so there's this one scene where she fucking snatches Mio up, picks her up like a piece of paper, and just starts like dragging her somewhere to put this costume on her. And so that's kind of weird. I'm like, but that's kind of a funny bit though, you know, they're embarrassed. She's super enthusiastic. That's kind of funny. And then the Christmas episode happens. And so they have like this Christmas party, and they didn't expect her to show up, I don't think. And apparently Sawaka Sensei just broke up with her boyfriend. She ain't taking it well. And so it's almost like she's drunk. I don't think that's what they intended, but it's like she's fucking wasted showing up to this, you know, teenagers' Christmas party. And they're all there having a great time. And Sawaka Sensei kind of starts like crying and bitching about her and her boyfriend breaking up. And I got this present for him and all that kind of stuff. And all the girls are like, yo, this is kind of weird. And so she starts talking about all her adult problems, and they're like, we're just...
You left out one major component to that.
Okay, what I missed?
She is openly drinking at this point in front of them.
Oh yeah, she is just pounding it, right? And so everybody's like, that's great, Sawako Sensei's here, this is kind of fucking weird. And so she's like, we're gonna have a good fucking Christmas party. And so she starts like forcing them into all these games and stuff like that. Everybody's like, yeah, this is great. And so then now they have this weird dynamic where they're talking to their teacher about like personal problems. And so that's already getting onto a weird level. Where then they progress, okay? We get Azusa, and then it goes into another training camp episode, which is over the summer. You know, they have their little training camp, and they go to one of Mugi's apparently very small, massive vacation houses, and they, you know, do some fucking hot girl summer shit and practice music. Well, they mention it to Sawaka Sensei. They're like, "Hey, you want to do the training camp with us this year?" And she's like, "No, you know, the time. I'm the way my bank accounts are set up. I got my checking. I'm busy." They're like, all right, well, you know, that kind of sucks. You know, we thought you would have fun swimming and hanging out with us. That's fine. Then she's like,
You say swimming?
and so
It's on Mugi's dime.
right, it's on Mugi's dime. And so they go there, and she doesn't come. She doesn't go with them. She said she wasn't going to come. Well, then there's this scene where they're like, oh, you know, let's do a bravery test. And so Mio and Zuzo are walking in the woods and just kind of hanging out. And this weird figure appears from behind a tree. And Mio freaks the fuck out. And this like horrifying looking lady just staggers into screen. And it's fucking Sawaka Sensei. She somehow tracked down this house and has been walking in the woods to find it. And so now she's here. So they fucking go on a little bit longer in the vacation. They're like, all right, let's go to the hot springs that's in this fucking summer home. So they go into the hot springs, and Sawaka-sensei doesn't have her glasses on, I guess. And she says this first really concerning line that I was like, all right, this is getting weird. Mio and Azusa are standing next to each other, and they're in this Japanese hot spring, so they're all naked. That's not the weird part. It's kind of a common thing in Japan, and so that's not, it's different cultural stuff. That's fine. But they're all naked in this hot spring, and it's kind of a trope that between all of the girls, Mio has the largest breasts. Okay. And Azusa's just a little freshman, and so she is not as well endowed as Mio. And they're standing next to each other, and Sawaka-sensei, without her glasses, goes, "Man, without my glasses, I can't tell you two apart. I know a way that I can know who is who. I'll just check your bust size." And she starts reaching out her hands to grab their fucking titties, and Mio just, like, slaps the shit out of her. And I'm like, what the fuck? She was gonna grab their titties!
We watched the entirety of Jahi, which had some questionable scenes.
And nothing was as questionable as that.
That was the only time you've ever belted out, "I don't know how I feel about this, dog."
Right. Ugh, oh my god. Yeah, and so that's when I was like, alright, this is real weird. There was something else that was kind of weird near the ending, wasn't there?
I don't... maybe. There was that one scene where basically she gaslit Mio into wanting to be groomed.
I'm sorry?
Where she brought out the cat ears for Azuna, and Mio's just like, "Man, I'm kind of lonely. I'm not getting pestered." And she just goes up to the club at the end of the room just to put on the cat ears.
Yeah, and so she just takes this really, like... she just takes this weird dynamic of being a little fucking too much. Like, there was that one part where she was a lot too much, but it just... I don't know. That is a weird character. And so I think
To be fair, we're also overlooking a gag character. We're also overanalyzing a gag character.
I mean, it's definitely a gag character, but that, I think that grabbing their titties part is a part I might have left out.
I might have left that on the cutting room floor, I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure. It is Japan, but I'm not quite sure how that made it through into the final cut, but alright.
Oh, man. Anything else to add about the characters?
I think that's all I got about Sawaka-sensei at this moment.
Alright, hop into the ring, because it's everyone's favorite time. It's time for the waifu wars. Adam, present your case.
Mio is best girl. Okay.
I disagree.
She's the prettiest.
No.
She's got that beautiful dark hair. Right.
Keep in mind you're talking about a minor at this point.
Nope. I mean, when she's 18.
Zam, she's 18.
Zam! Right, and so she has the best personality, okay? First of all, she can be mature when she wants to. She's not fucking insufferable. Like, I'll let you present your case. I'm not gonna start shit-talking your character, okay? But some of the other girls can be a little... They can't turn off the retardation. Mio can turn it off, okay? Her biggest flaw is that she's easily embarrassed and easily scared. But, those kind of things can be avoided. But she's smart, okay? She's talented. She can fucking slap that bass like no other. She's fucking mature. Alright? And so she's a bad bitch, okay? That's what I'm getting at, is she's a bad bitch.
Oh, I agree, she's really bad.
I like bad bitches, that's my fucking problem, okay?
Are you done spouting nonsense?
I'm done spitting the truth.
Alright, let's get to the most important character. Yui, the light of my life. The most important character in the show.
Head ass 2, one might even say.
Not even head ass, dog, just full ass. Alright. Zam, she's 18. Anyway. She goes through the most character development of any person in this show. From a bubbling idiot to the second coming of Jimi Hendrix Christ.
Well, okay, but that's not a reason why she's best girl. Of course she gets more character development than everyone else, because while they're all the main characters, she's like the main character, you know?
What development does Mio go through, Adam? Being a bad friend to her friend who is sick and in need.
Okay, well, hang on. You said what development does she get? She gets some great development. She is paralyzed by fear and embarrassment, but she still manages, at the first concert that they have at the first end of school festival, she musters up the courage to do the singing.
She tries to get out until the very end.
Yeah, but she did it. She still did it.
Yeah,
God damn it. And then she does it just fine throughout the rest of the series.
I'm gonna have to ask you to not curse on my Christian podcast. Thank you.
I apologize. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I got too emotional.
Apologize to Jesus right now.
I'm sorry, Lord.
I'm cutting this out.
Okay.
No, I really like Yui's arc of she's presented as this doofus, which I mean, in all honesty, she still is at the end of the show. But I like seeing her like stick with something, putting up with it. Like when Azunyan is like I keep calling her Azuna comes in instead of like the thing that would happen in most shows. She's jealous or whatever and harbors a grudge. She's like, oh yeah, she's better than me. Hey, can you teach me shit? Can you teach me how to play guitar? And I find that very admirable. Also she's cute.
Okay.
Mm.
I respect that. Don't get me wrong. I like Yui's character. I like all of the characters a lot. They mesh very well, but here's the thing, Blake. You say she's best waifu.
Yes.
Okay. Could you stand a fucking day with her?
Yes.
You would have your hands full.
That's fine.
It's like having a puppy.
I have raised 2 in the last 3 years.
And you hate them.
Okay.
Every time
listen. That's because of the environment I'm in. Okay. I don't think Yui would start barking every time someone like passed the window.
You don't know that though.
You don't know that Mio wouldn't.
No, she wouldn't. She would cower in the corner.
Like a sad, untrained dog.
I can fix her.
Okay. She's also very violent.
Yeah, okay, that's something we haven't gotten into. I completely forgot to mention that. That's my bad. Yes. Sometimes I had mentioned that she tries to keep the group on track, and sometimes when they don't stay on track, she sort of mildly, maybe sometimes beats the shit out of them. Okay.
You catch more flies with honey than vinegar, Adam.
And have you ever been with a boring woman, Blake?
No.
You need some spice, okay? A woman's gotta have a little edge to her.
At what point are you broken enough to where the spice you need is domestic violence?
I'm at that point.
Okay. You know what? Let's just agree to disagree.
All right, that's fine. You have your opinion, I have mine. There's nothing wrong with that. Last time I checked, this was America.
I think Mio is a fantastic character.
I very much enjoy Yui's character.
Starts punching each other.
I'll fuck you right now.
I'll kill you.
All right.
I want to add one little thing. One little thing. Who's your least favorite character?
My least favorite character?
Yeah, the one like you don't particularly hate him. You're just kind of lukewarm on him.
I think it's got to be Azuso, just because time in grade. She just she hasn't been around long enough for me to make as strong of a connection to her.
She's been around for 4 episodes.
Yeah, but the other ones have been around for 12.
I'm agreeing with you, retard.
Oh, okay. I thought you were calling me fucking dumb.
No.
Yeah. So I think it's not because I don't like her character at all. Her character's fine. I just haven't really, made that connection yet. So at this point, end of season 1, it's Azusa right now. When we do our end of season 2 video, maybe I'll have a different opinion. Who's yours?
I agree. Azusa is... I'm very lukewarm on her. And I'm going to preface this right now by saying I haven't watched season 2 to completion.
How much have you watched?
Maybe 10 episodes.
Okay, so gearing up on halfway through the second season, you were still kind of lukewarm to her.
It's like a third, and it's been years since I've watched the second season, or like any of this. I think I told you it was like 5 or 6 years.
Well, and I think really the big thing about her is she doesn't have as big a personality as the others.
Yeah, well, she hasn't really been given a whole lot of she hasn't had that one episode to herself yet.
Yeah, and all the other ones have kind of had their episode. And the other ones are just big personalities. They have big emotions and stuff like that. And they really have their shtick. And it seems like at this point, her shtick is just kind of being Mini Mio.
Yeah. Although you do get that attachment that she has to Yui right there at the end.
Yeah, and that is like a little... it's a cute little thing that Yui has that big attachment to her and stuff like that. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying she definitely adds to the story.
Yeah.
And she certainly doesn't detract anything from it. But, if there's one character that they couldn't have introduced and I think the show still would have been great, it's probably her.
Yeah, fair. I do remember them playing big into the, more scenes with her and Yui in the second season.
Okay,
So,
we'll get into that when it happens.
Yes, but as of right now, I'm mad on her. So from there, let's go into the music.
So, are we talking the background music or the songs that they play?
Let's just do an all-rounder, opening, ending, songs they play.
The opening song is okay. I'm not huge on it. The ending song kind of fucking slaps.
It does slap.
It's sort of a banger. Okay, that ending song is really fucking good.
Have you listened to it on your own yet?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So it's kind of a banger.
Don't Say Lazy is pretty good. We heard Fua Fua Time, I think, in full about 4 times during the season.
Right, and so the background music is fine. I mean, it's just as good as the background music of any other anime, really. They fucking just have a list of non-copyright shit and they throw it in there. It's fine. It's background music. There's nothing wrong with it.
Right. I will say the songs that they play in the mid episode cuts.
Yeah, where they have the cassette and it flips over.
And the solos they play on that are really good.
Yeah. Well, then there's the songs that they play, on stage and practice and stuff.
Yeah.
They're good, right? They're good.
Right.
They need to learn some new fucking songs.
I know. Like I said, we heard Fua Fua Time 4 times in full.
Right. And so you hear that one a bunch of times, and then there's a second song they play. And I think you only hear those 2 in all of season 1.
Right. So
they're good songs. Okay, they're fine. But, if you hear your favorite song 100 times, you're going to want to listen to something else.
If I hear just the startup chords, the one more time, I'm driving my car into a pole.
Okay. That was a very
Minecraft.
strong emotion. Okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you meant something else.
No, of course not. So,
I think that about sums up my opinion on the music.
I think it's good. I want some more variety.
I agree.
Also, the when they threw in Kurt Cobain randomly, that was a bit odd.
Yeah, that was an odd choice for this show specifically, but
all right. From there, touching on the animation, Adam, what'd you think of your first show with an actual budget?
I think this is a better thing for you to talk about. I just don't have that much to add. The last anime I watched to completion was Initial D. and that was animated in the early 2000s, and so that was like, you know, old school.
Oh, you watched Jahi.
Well, yeah, and then I was gonna get into that. Then there was Jahi, which is like modern. It just came out.
It just
You
ended,
know, we
like,
were
what, 2
watching
weeks
the
ago?
episodes as they came out.
Yeah.
And so that's like modern. I will give it this compliment, I guess. You know, I look back at like old scenes from Initial D and I'm like, wow, this is aged. I mean, it was a great show, but the animation is definitely aged. You know, we've progressed a lot in technology wise in all those years. I watched K-On! And it came out in 2009, so at us recording this 13 years ago, it doesn't feel incredibly aged.
No. So I was okay. Like, I still get into the animation. So it's slice of life. So like the bar is literally on the ground floor. Like, it's on the ground. I will say, you mentioned this earlier, but when Sakao is running through the halls and just dashing, and the budget just goes up like 120%.
That was half of the season 1 budget in that scene.
It was that, and then the music video from the first performance when they're on the run from the cops.
Yeah.
So, you know, I wouldn't say any of it's downright bad. There's like a couple of goofy off-frame things, but nothing noticeable. Like, it's drawn in a way where that's okay. They can get by with it.
There was this one part I thought was hilarious. You said off-frame things. There was this part in like the first or second episode where they're just sitting in class, and I think Yui's talking to Naruto about like, oh, you know, I gotta join a club. You know, I gotta be about something. This is high school, bitch. And so they're getting, you know, they're having this conversation, and I even mentioned it to you while we were watching. I was like, damn, that bitch in the back. Is this just this character in the back, like an extra? I was like, that bitch got a fat forehead.
Yeah, forehead Chan.
Yeah, forehead Chan.
And she's
okay, I take it back. That's my favorite character of the show.
forehead Chan.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will say the facial expressions they give some of the characters are really good.
I really love those expressions they give them when it's like they have these very detailed characters that they've drawn out and their personalities and all these features and things like that. I really love when they give them the faces that like I could draw. And for reference, I can't draw a stick figure.
I think Baby, Mio, Yui, and Ui were scientifically crafted meticulously in a lab to be the most adorable things ever.
I agree.
But yeah, no, animation is like pretty good. And then it just kind of... Oh, that's another thing. The performance animations, like when they're on stage.
Oh yeah, when they're like singing and stuff, especially that last episode of the season where first Mio and then Yui are singing. It was good.
It was good. Those kind of go like above and beyond to be like they're fret perfect on the guitars and bass and drums and everything. It's really neat.
Yeah, you can definitely tell that people that had hands in making this show actually know music. They know what they're talking about.
And they got licenses to actual, like, I guess, music companies.
Gibson and
Marshall.
PV, Marshall.
Yeah. Yui plays a Gibson Les Paul.
That
Yamaha too.
Yamaha, that company that makes all the guitar picks with the D. I keep wanting to say Dunlop, but that's a tire company.
Yeah.
Anyway, you know what I'm talking about.
I guess for reference, we should probably put in, like, both of us are kind of familiar with guitar.
Yeah, we kind of play a little bit. You know, we're not great or anything, but we dabble in it.
We are here to announce the WeebHiveMind K-On! Cover band, though. I
don't know about that, Chief.
Should I have saved that announcement for the last?
Maybe you should have saved that for the end of season 2.
Okay, maybe. Okay, all right. One more season.
Edit that. Edit that.
Cut
that.
We'll feature Blake. That's your problem.
We'll cut that in post.
Okay, so from animation, I have your favorite bit.
My favorite bit is probably the Mugi wealth bits. There's just all these different points that pop up. So Mugi, her character comes from an incredibly rich family, And the first time you really see it is and Ritsu has known her forever, and so she's always like, yeah, her family's got money and stuff like that. The first time you really see it is Yui has never owned a guitar, and so they go to the music store, and she just falls in love with this Gibson Les Paul. And it's like $2,500 American. And she's just like, oh, we'll work for it. And they work one day, and they're like, this is dog shit, and I can't let you spend your money on me. I'll go buy a cheaper one. So they go back to the music store for her to get a cheaper one, and she still just can't pull herself away from the Les Paul. It's still $2,500. And so Ritsu says, oh, well, you could try haggling. And Mugi's like, oh, what's that? And Ritsu's like, you kind of push him a little bit, get him to bring the price down a little bit. And so Mugi goes over to the guy at the counter and is like, hey, I'd like to haggle with you. And the dude behind the counter, I guess, recognizes her because her father owns the entire shopping mall as a part of his real estate consortium. And so he's like, I could give you this price, and he like slides it, or he like turns the screen around to show her a price, and I guess it wasn't low enough. And she's like, you can do better. Just being fucking, she doesn't even understand what she's doing. She's like, you could do a little better. And so he lowers it all the way down to where Yui can then buy the guitar for $500.
A nice 5 Benjamins.
Right, because her dad owns the fucking place. And so there's all these different bits. There's like this one during the summer where Azusa and Ui are having lunch together. And then Richu kind of just butts in. And she's like, oh, why don't we go hang out at Mugi's house? And they're like, well, she's kind of busy. Don't you think she's out doing something? And Richu's kind of joking. She's like, well, yeah, like her family has a butler and she's probably off in some other country on vacation. And so they call her phone. No answer. They call her house phone and the fucking butler picks up. They're like, oh dear God, she actually has a butler. Can Mugi get on the phone? And the butler's like, I'm terribly sorry, ma'am, but Mugi is on holiday in Finland. And they're like, oh God, she actually is in another country on holiday. And so there's just all these kind of funny moments that pop up about her being rich and not making a big deal out of it.
It's pretty great. There's one thing about the haggling story that I don't know if you caught, but it was Ritsu talking about how she haggled on her like used drum set she got, and the cashier ended up crying by the end of it.
Oh yeah. He was crying.
He was crying. I think my favorite bit from the show was when Ui showed up dressed as her sister. Oh yeah, so do you want to give some backstory on how that happened? Yeah, so Ritsu was out with a cold, and then all the girls came over to check on her. Yui ended up falling asleep right next to her, catching her cold, and like they had a performance like in a week. So I think it was like 4 days till the performance. Right. And Ui's checking on Yui, and like, she's out with a cold, she's got a fever. And so she's like, well, this is really important to her and her bandmates, so I'm just gonna take her guitar and dress as her and play. And she's good. She's good up until the point where they're like, man, that was a little too perfect. That was a little too good.
Run it back. Let's play it again.
Let's play it again. And so they do, and they're like, you know what, maybe it was just a fluke or whatever, And then, in one of the only rare scenes in the anime, you see that Yui's autism and just lack of, I guess, general manners, because it was the name thing that caught him off guard, right?
Right.
Is what leads them, well, that and Hakawa Sensei.
Well, and so they get suspicious, and Mio is like, what's your nickname for me?
Yeah.
And she goes, Azusa too?
Yeah, well, it was that, and it was like Ritsu and Mugi, she gives them honorifics. Whereas Yui just straight up calls people by their name. No respect whatsoever. And they're like,
and
something's
so
a little off.
Mio says that, and then Sawaka-sensei just fucking slams up from her desk, and she's like, enough of this.
Enough, Ui.
Yui. And so Ui's like, I don't know what you're talking about. She's like, enough of this. I've known from the beginning. And so then they have this little thing where Ui is standing around the table with them. She's like, I'm sorry.
Adam, would you mind telling us how Sakawa knew that it was Ui?
Remind me again?
It was that Ui had bigger breasts than Yui.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think that's what I was forgetting earlier when we were talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, good old Sawaka-sensei.
We got a modern day Epstein on our hands.
We really do. That fucking music room is just the island.
And I'm gonna be honest. You know what? That's the end for bits. Like, do you have any other things to add?
No, I think those are pretty much all of my favorite bits. I do like the moments and stuff where Yui and Ritsu have their moments together. They have a pretty hilarious dynamic, but other than that,
little Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah, they're just little retards together.
The beach scenes were pretty good.
The beach scenes were very good.
They're pretending to be stranded. I think the drama in this show is handled really well as well.
You said the what?
The drama aspects.
Which drama parts? Like, give me an example of what you mean.
The whole Ritsu and Mio falling out. I really liked that scene in the last episode where Yui is running to go get her guitar.
And she's having this kind of like, look at how I've grown. Sort of this, looking back on the whole first season and how she's progressed and things like that sort of moment.
To the point.
And they have the music playing in the background and.
Yeah, and they're comparing it to like the first episode where she's running late for school.
Right, and she's running the same route.
Yeah.
They're kind of like showing some flashbacks of how she was sort of, you know, she couldn't focus and she was almost late to school because she's stopping to pet the dog and shit like that.
And walk her grandma and everything.
Right.
But I'm gonna admit that kind of got me in the feels a little bit.
Yeah, and so that was a nice feel-good moment. And yeah, there was the scene where Mio and Ritsu had their falling out because Ritsu kind of ended up insulting Mio, and Mio called her a jerk, and so she kind of takes a step back for a minute. She starts, she sort of realizes that Nagato, she really likes her as a person, and so they start hanging out more. She has lunch with her and stuff like that, and Ritsu gets really jealous. And all of a sudden, she isn't showing up to school for days, and they're like, "Oh, I guess she must be really upset." And so Sawaka-sensei says, "You need to be her pet for one fucking day, so that we can get this concert out of the way."
She's going down the road of heavy metal.
Right. She said, "If she keeps up like this, she's gonna get into a heavy metal band." And so, you know, Mio kind of has this moment where she sucks up her pride and goes over to Ritsu's house. And it turns out she had a cold, and that's why she hadn't been at school. But she goes over to Ritsu's house, and she's walking up the stairs. And Ritsu says her name before she gets to the top of the stairs, and she's like, "So what? Do you have like a third eye now?" And she says, "No, I just recognize your walking pattern up the stairs." And so she's like, "Oh, you know," and it's sort of like this moment of, they're really good friends, and they have been for a long time, so let's just get over our fucking problems and all that stuff. So yeah, the sort of minor drama things that they have, or the sort of come-to-Jesus moments they do in a very artful way.
Right. And I think, kind of, I'm going to compare this to Jahi for a second. But I think the reason it works in this show and not Jahi is this is very, very much more like character focused than it is like bit focused.
Right. And there's just a lot more dynamics going on. Like you know, since we're comparing it with Jahi, the moments, Jahi has some really great moments when like she interacts with the boss or the landlord because she means a lot to him, but she doesn't want to admit it. And so the dynamics they put together just work really, really well.
Right.
And so the Mio and the Ritsu dynamic worked really well because of their character development and stuff like that. And then Yui's, what you were talking about, her running in the last episode, that was a really good dynamic because it was kind of a her versus herself sort of dynamic.
Right.
And so, I mean, it's really just basic storytelling dynamics, you know, person versus person, person versus self, person versus an environment, but they've created the characters in such a way that they did a really good job presenting them.
What a good show. And then, any other thoughts on that?
I don't think so.
All right, well, we're on our last subject here, and that's hopes for next season and ending thoughts. Adam, what do you want to see out of next season?
I'd definitely like to see more character development out of Azosu.
Yeah.
You know, we just haven't got a whole lot out of her yet. Like I said, she's only been around for like 4 episodes, and so we just haven't really got that big backstory or that big Azosu episode yet where she really has a lot of development or has a massive connection with the group and things like that. You said the budget like doubles in the next season, and so I'm very happy to see what they do with that money, whether it's, you know, more music or improving the animation or what exactly they're gonna do with all that. You know, and I like to see, obviously I like to see the already established characters continue to grow. Maybe they're finally going to put out a warrant for Sawaka-sensei's arrest and she'll be taken to jail, so we'll see if that happens.
Sawaka's such an important character, though.
Is she? Yes, she
They
is.
need someone to sign off on their shenanigans.
That's true. They do need someone to sign off on it, so I guess her warrant's going to have to wait until they graduate.
Well, yeah, I want to see more performances.
Yeah, because we only got 2
or 3, I believe.
out of 12 episodes.
Right, we got 27 episodes to go.
And yeah, and so I understand that that's kind of the bit, like, oh, they're supposed to be practicing, but they don't. But I'd like to see them play more songs.
Right. And there's a shit ton of K-On! songs, so I'm guessing that's when we're getting it, is next season?
Well, but there's also the movie.
There's also the movie. We'll get to that. We're ways off. We're like...
We'll get there.
Maybe... I don't know, you think we can continue this for like 2 weeks? Doing 12 episodes? Fucking...
Don't know.
3 minutes, slow it down.
We'll try and put that season 2 video out as soon as possible, but I don't know if it'll be 2 weeks fast.
We'll get it out in at least July. At least by July.
Oh god, I don't know if it'll be that long.
Well, I can highly recommend season 1 of K-On!
Yeah, that's pretty much my ending thoughts, is I'm really, really enjoying the show. What I'm starting to find that I like about these little slice of life animes, which it honestly even hurts my heart to still say that.
Yeah.
What I'm really liking about them is they're just such a casual watch. You watch your big dramas and stuff like that, and it's like, whoa, I gotta like pay attention, and I'll find myself like I stop paying attention for a second, and I gotta rewind and stuff like, oh god, I missed something big, or it's a very focused watch, and these shows are just real casual. They're nice, feel-good, casual shows.
You don't have to be in a mood to watch them. Like, you don't worry about like, oh, who's gonna die in this episode. It's more like, man, I wonder if they're gonna have strawberry or blackberry cake today.
Yeah, it's just a nice, cutesy, feel-good show.
We haven't gotten to Mugi's war crimes yet.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
Well, Adam, thank you for sitting down and talking about this wonderful show with me.
Thank you for inviting me to the WeebHiveMind. I hope you invite me back.
It's been a pleasure, and we'll see you on the next sit down for K-On! Season 2.
We'll see y'all after Season 2.